right, so I guess we could start off by you guys introducing yourselves. You don't have to say your last name. Just like how old are you? What do you do? Have you struggled with some kind of mental health issue? Where are you at right now? You don't have to go too deep. Just a formality. Laura, do you want to start with you?
Okay. Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Laura. I'm a social work student. I've got 1 year left. I'm full-time parent as well, so takes up a lot of my time. I'm unemployed at the moment, but yeah, hoping to get work out of placement at the end of next year when I'm finished my studies after I graduate. I've had a lot of anxiety and depression probably for the last 10 years, probably undiagnosed from earlier on, but yeah, started taking medication when I was, I think, 22. After my dad died, I think everything was kind of got to the point where it just boiled over the surface, and yeah, so I started taking medication and did some counselling, and yeah, and then I had my child. I feel like this is my life story.
Yeah, no, you don't have to go too deep.
Okay.
But, so basically we get out of that. You've definitely got a point, an opinion, a point of view, an experienced opinion on the situation, on the topic.
Okay. So just like...
Well, you don't have to go any deeper if you don't want to.
Yeah, but like, how do I say, like, yeah, I've experienced this and that, and then do you want me to just stop
have you
talking?
you've been on medication before?
Yeah, maybe I need some like prompts so I can answer questions
Okay,
instead
well,
of, yeah.
what kind of medication were you on?
Lexapro.
Lexapro. And what did that do?
It just kind of numbed everything, I guess, just like experienced a lot of like highs and lows, and I guess it kind of just evened everything out. It kind of just gave me like a baseline of, you know, ability to get through periods of stress with assignments due and yeah, stuff like that. But yeah.
Brilliant. Meals.
Okay, Amelia, 32. I've just finished my social work degree and working as a domestic violence worker for a community organisation in their outreach team. I've been there for about 18 months now as well while doing uni. I didn't really have so much depression. More, my biggest thing, like since my early 20s, was social anxiety. Very severe social anxiety that sort of just triggered one day when I think I was about 22. And I spent probably about 5 or 6 years just pretty much not going out of my comfort zone. I tried medication, it didn't work. I tried Lexapro, that didn't work. Tried counselling, that didn't work. Nothing really worked. I found like these things, beta blockers, propranolol, which stopped all the physical sensations, which for me was the biggest thing. And that kind of led to me freaking out, not because I was afraid of the social situation, but because I was afraid of the physical sensations that like the anxiety brought on. So it sort of just, yeah, stopped me from doing anything for many, many years, staying in a job I hated. And then eventually I just took the plunge, quit my job, went back to uni, and yeah, it's sort of improved ever since that. But yeah, I think I had braces as well. I think that sort of like stunted my confidence for a while, and like since getting them off and, you know, getting through this degree and everything, I feel like that's been the major shift for me.
Getting the braces off?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the degree?
And the degree, like just getting through that, like accomplishing things and getting, yeah, just it's not so much of an issue for me anymore.
Brilliant. So you're not on the medication?
I'm still on, I started on, I think it's called
Zoloft?
sertraline, but I think, yeah,
Yeah.
it's Zoloft is like the brand name. I started on that at the beginning of last year because my anxiety was still really bad, and I was going into my first work placement and was very scared that I wouldn't be able to cope because of all the anxiety. And I think that helped a bit, but now I'm weaning off that because I don't feel like I need it
Yeah,
anymore.
cool.
So, yeah.
And what did that medication do? That was the one that stopped the physical sensation?
No. See, that one just, I think, brought my general anxiety down to a more manageable level. And then I still had the other stuff as well that would stop all the physical, so I would still take that alongside it. So it's hard to tell whether it did a whole lot for me, to be honest. And I've seen a counsellor again because some stuff flared up again at the beginning of this year. Had a bit of a issue with a breakup and whatever, and yeah, got a little bit depressed and anxious, and so I went back and tried again, and yeah, but at the moment everything sort of seems to have cleared up almost.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And Laura, you're not on your meds anymore?
No. I'm I think it's coming up nearly 6 months off them. I think, I stopped taking them back end of July. So, August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, like 5 months now. So, definitely still battling demons for sure. But I think it's about, just accepting that those feelings are a part of life and, just trying to lean into them and embrace them almost and kind of face them and realize that it's not a forever feeling. It'll pass,
Yeah.
It's a fleeting moment in time. So but even to be able to be at that level is like a bit of a, accomplishment.
100%. It's a bit of a milestone.
Like even this sort of thing, I would never have been able to do this before
Yeah, okay.
without having complete freak out. Like there is no way in the world I'd be like, nah, I cannot do that.
Yeah. Well,
At all.
hopefully...
Even with people that I know, and I'm comfortable with, would not have been able to do it.
Yeah, like meeting people for the first time or going to a party or something, like I'd have to take heaps of propranolol as well.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
have to have a couple of drinks before I'd go anywhere. Otherwise I just would be just so anxious.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, hopefully even a conversation like this kind of almost helps you guys in whatever way possible kind of thing too. Kind of putting
Yeah.
it all on the table.
Yeah, definitely.
Beers. That was a great little introduction. So I guess now I'll just go into a little bits of stuff that I've looked into, which I thought was interesting, and see if you have any care for it or no care or an opinion or next question kind of thing. That sound all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so one guy I was looking up, Joe Henhari, travelled all over the world because he used to suffer with depression and it was in his family. He got told it was like, it's just a problem with your genes, so you need to have this medication. And he was like, I don't quite believe that. So he went around the world, he did all his investigating and studying, and he found that mental health is a social indicator. And the science overwhelmingly shows this. And it's not just a biological phenomenon that randomly happens for some people. All the scientists and doctors that are working on it, they agree there's sociological and psychological components involved. So his argument is a way to not feel depressed or anxiety or have mental health is in life, you have to feel like you belong. You have to feel your life has meaning and purpose. You've got to feel people see you and value you, and you've got to feel you've got a future that makes sense. First of all, would you kind of agree with that?
I think having a purpose is pretty important, like having something that you are committed to and like that drives you. I think that's important. I also think that like social interactions and being around other people is really really important, especially for me. I find the more I socialize, the better I feel. If I do ever feel down, if I go and even just see somebody, or even just having a conversation with someone, even if it's not about what is causing an issue, it just helps to relieve it and maybe take your mind off it. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Would you?
Yeah, definitely 100%. Like, we're social animals, we need to be part of a pack. And yeah, if you don't wake up in the morning and have a purpose or a drive or something to do or someone to see or something to keep you going kind of thing, it's life's a bit bleak, really. Yeah.
So both your degrees have helped be that drive to get up
Definitely.
with purpose and go do
For
something.
sure. And also with it comes a lot of talking about this kind of thing with other people who are experiencing, you know, pretty horrendous situations, and that kind of puts things into perspective as well. Being grateful and having like things that you're really appreciative of, I think really helps as well. Counting your
100%.
lucky stars, for sure.
I guess having a daughter also gave you a whole new drive in
Purpose,
life
for
too.
sure. Yeah. And then that led me to do the degree, because it was like I have to, you know, have a stable kind of career for the next 20 years basically.
20.
Well, obviously, but just for her to, you
She's
know,
gotta move
complete
out.
high school.
Like
Finishes
18,
out,
then
see you
you're
later,
free.
yeah.
7. 16, I think you can send her on a merry way.
Yeah. Only 10 years to go, so, you know.
So,
I think like having a job for me for me, I've always sort of worked, and I had a year there where I didn't work, and because I worked from as soon as I could, as soon as I was, you know, old enough to work, and I never didn't have a job growing up and throughout everything. So for me, like going to work and just getting that social output there as well helps. I notice even if I don't work for a bit and don't do anything or see anyone and have no money to do anything, then I get quite, you know, down,
for
and
sure.
I feel quite disconnected and like lacking purpose. Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Especially now, I guess, with uni being over, like it's all right with uni on.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have this to go into, I think I'd feel pretty
Low,
overwhelmed and
yeah.
lost. Yeah, because it's just like an outlet, and yeah, you kind of get that social stuff through it as well, where you're just with other people who have a similar purpose and interest to you. So I think like that helps as well.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that, but I don't have the job to go to. Like I have Zali and uni full time, and that keeps me like super, super busy, and I don't have a moment where I'm not like stressed because I have so much to do.
When you're
but
on
then
uni, yeah.
when I'm on holidays and Zali's on holidays, it's like all of this free time, and it's almost a little bit daunting, and that kind of brings on the anxiety as well, because it's just like, wow, now I have so much free time to worry about everything.
The world ending.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'd think that you'd
exactly.
be really happy because you had all this free time, but it's almost a little bit like, now
It's
I need something
overwhelming.
else to do.
Yeah.
I'm so used to being so busy, and then when I'm not busy, it's like,
so
yeah,
there comes
anxiety
that
provoking.
drive in your life. You need to have a purpose.
Yeah, well, I
Kind
can't
of
go
thing
and,
comes back.
you know, get a job one day a week when Zali has like,
I'm working on it.
yeah, like, you know, she'll be in vacation care maybe one day because that's all I can afford or whatever, but I can't just go and, now I have her full time because she's not at school because it's Christmas holidays. So, yeah, it's just like, it's a bit tricky situation.
So kind of on the same question, through COVID, you know, everything kind of got turned upside down. No one could go see anyone. Everyone was on lockdown. Did you have any of these feelings kind of surge throughout that period, or?
100%. Yeah.
Definitely, because I live by myself as well, so I think it's lucky that we live so close together, and although we couldn't see each other a huge amount for a little bit because of all the restrictions, but luckily for Queensland it wasn't that bad. But yeah, there was definitely times where I was like, wow.
We'd like
Felt
catch up and have a cup of tea
completely
or
alone,
whatever.
yeah.
And even that was so, like, kept us going for a bit, I think, like during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, placement got cancelled. Everything was from home. School got cancelled once again.
Uni
You
from
live,
home,
work,
yeah.
and play at home, and it's just... And then you just, you know, want to get out of the house because it's just so... Yeah.
And then, did your behaviour change at all? Did you want to go get on the meds more or use substances more or anything like that to mitigate any kind of feelings or sensations, or?
Because I don't know, it was sort of like really into semester then at uni, so luckily had that distraction.
still
I
head
think
down.
yeah, even though uni stopped for a little bit, like I'd had my jaw surgery and stuff, so it was almost a relief for me that things had slowed down a bit so I could recover, and then do uni at home helped a lot for me while I was in the recovery and everything. And then it was sort of just focusing on that, I think, for a couple of months. And I think like I tried to keep exercising and stuff like that, to sort of keep in a bit of a routine, because I freaked out. I think I freaked out a little bit that when there was no routine and when I sort of lost it and was just, laying around, not doing much, and sort of pulled myself back in. And I think uni was probably the savior through that, because just had so many assignments and so much stuff to do that I sort of didn't have a huge amount of time. Probably the weekends was the worst, if I wasn't working or whatnot.
Didn't know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, like there was sometimes just sitting there at home like, wow, what do I do in my house by myself? Like probably, drank a bit. Probably did, I think I smoked some weed, like, which I don't normally do, but.
Yeah, I definitely drank a lot more. Ordered, Uber Eats a lot more.
Yeah.
Smoked a lot more weed, did a lot more drugs, like on the weekends when I didn't have Zali. Just because being in these, just being in the four walls for all week, all year, and the next year to come, it's just like super overwhelming. It's just
so
like I need to get out of
You've already
here.
been told your next year is online still, which is pretty rough.
Yeah, it's super rough. All classes online, all on Zoom for hours on end each day.
Which has been since March, basically, already.
Yeah, so it's pretty
So
horrific. You just lose even that, commute to uni, or, catching up with people that, you don't know super well, but you have a coffee and you have a chat walking to the bus stop or whatever. Just those little things that you took for granted, that were really, that was like I didn't realize it at the time, but that was my social interaction with people. Like,
and it's like part of your routine, I guess. Like getting
Totally.
up, taking Sally to school, then you go get on the
dropping her
bus,
off, catching
go
the
to
bus,
uni,
and
like
getting
it's
ready for something as well. Like
Yeah.
I did placement from home, and I literally
just in tracksuit
rolled out of bed,
pants,
pressed a button, and I was at work.
Yeah.
It was so strange.
Yeah.
and I've had a few Zoom classes. It is hard to kind of even get involved in those classes at the end of the day.
So you only hear one person at a time, so it becomes really disjointed. It's just awkward.
And when
It
everyone
doesn't-
turns their cameras off as well, you don't, and you're the only one with your camera on or something. It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's weird. You get all these little.
Write your name as still connecting.
No. I don't know. Like, if no one else has got their it's like a weird peer follower thing. Like, if no one else has their camera on, it's like, okay, well, I won't then, because I don't want to be the only person. Like, it's just little weird things like that. And then if you feel like, if you talk too much, you feel like you're the only one talking and everyone's bored. I don't know. I also obviously have paranoia.
I just sit there silently, like the anxiety thing. Never have the camera on, never talk. So that I'm not interacting.
I
Whereas
feel
in
like-
class, they
yeah.
force
Maybe,
you to.
so maybe
feel like
it would
you
be a
need to
thing
interact.
try and put
It's
yourself
too late
out
now,
there and
you're done.
interact a little
Well, I'm
bit
done
more,
now,
right?
so.
But that's the only form of like interaction that I have. So I feel like I do put a lot into it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, am I that annoying student who's just talking when everyone's like not really engaged? I don't know.
I just didn't have the confidence to, so I just never did during all of that. But I don't know. I think maybe towards the end I did get more confident with it. With some of the classes, and I guess like with our honours one, there was only a few of us in it, so we catch up on there, and it did become more normal and you became more comfortable with it. But definitely at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, this is not my thing.
Yeah. I didn't even know how to set it up at first. It took me like a day to actually work out how to do it.
Makes
Use
us
the
all
arrow.
more digitally advanced
Yeah.
going through COVID at the end of the day, I guess. So we're covering a lot of stuff, which is pretty good. What about social media? Are you on Instagram, Mills?
Yeah.
Are you addicted to Instagram?
Basically.
A bit. Probably less lately, I think. Like, I find, even in the last week, I find I'm, like, just going into it and totally uninterested in
bored,
it. I'm just
yeah.
like, what are you even? I'm not interested. I think during the COVID period, definitely, I had all the apps going. With TikTok, hours of my life gone on TikTok. Like, just, but I think now, definitely less into it than I was before. But I still check it every day, at least a couple of times. Mostly out of boredom. It's never like, wonder what's happening on Instagram. It's always like I'm sitting there with nothing to do.
It's just a habit.
And no one to talk to, so I'll check Instagram.
And then you're looking at other people living their best life.
Yeah.
Feeling a little bit down.
Making
on
yeah,
you.
exactly. And I think that used to be a big issue for me, was always looking at all that. And
Yeah, of
I
course.
actually went through and like deleted all of these ridiculous fake people off there, like just to, because I realized that it was all just
Smoke and mirrors.
yeah. So
Well, the evidence is out there that when social media came into play, everyone's mental health kind of went downhill, particularly girls. Girls went downhill because I think girls can be vicious to one another.
It's just a lot in your face, a lot to compare to, a lot to, you feel a lot of pressure to be, you know, it's not a lot of positive affirmations and telling you how great you are. It's like...
Well, because
unless you're
a lot
like
of ego-driven
ridiculously
stuff.
good looking and have all the
Well,
latest of everything, then
if that's something to thrive for in life.
yeah,
kind of, you know.
exactly.
And if you're going to watch it all the time, I guess you're going to feel like, hey, what's wrong with me?
important.
kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
For sure.
But so I got rid of it. I think it was this year. Yeah, it's definitely this year, start of the year, and I haven't gone back to it once. You know, every now and then you jump on in case someone's written you a message. I don't know you're off it yet. And life is vastly better because I don't care what people's photos have to say.
Yeah.
And Laura, I recommended that to you, and you jumped off it.
Yeah, I think it's been about 2 months.
And how do you feel about that?
I definitely don't need to see anyone's life. If people are contacting me and want to hang out with me, then they know where I am. They have my number. You know, there's no need to have these hundreds of people, you know, checking up on you or seeing what you're doing or you see what them do. It's just like a bit weird, really. The whole concept is just very strange. And yeah, I guess, yeah, always lived without it. I never even had an iPhone until like very late. I never had Facebook until very late, and then all of a sudden jumped on it and was just addicted, like hooked, like all the time, just on this app, that app, you know. Every second that I had to spend with myself, I couldn't do it. I had to look at this app, you know. So I have a lot of time that's like spent reflecting, I guess. Now I do have this word game that I play pretty
So now you're addicted
a lot.
to
Well, I
CrossFit.
feel like it's better to have something that you're using your brain
for
for,
sure.
you know. But
That's like what you just said too, is like when you're by yourself,
yeah,
instead of just being
yeah.
by yourself with your thoughts in the moment, you're trying to distract yourself
I don't want
from
to
it.
be
like,
here thinking about that. Da,
yeah,
da, da.
like
yeah.
oh, just look at this because I'm bored. I need to distract myself from
Yeah, I actually,
whatever.
I feel like since I've been on holidays, like I'm not doing a summer semester, I'm not studying anything, but I feel like I've been trying to study myself almost. Like I've gotten like a lot of audiobooks of like self-help and like reading into this and that and like certain issues that I, you know, I'm pretty sure that I have, and that's helped a lot, like to gain a different perspective of it and actually try and do something about it rather than just sitting there looking at everyone else and comparing myself to them, which will make it way worse. I've actually tried to be proactive and like do something about it.
Yeah, like I remember a time when you used to have to wait at the bus stop. You just had to stare at the traffic and be at one with your thoughts.
Yeah,
kind of
Or on
thing.
the bus, you
Before
don't have
social media,
exactly,
like
yeah.
before Spotify, between like
Maybe
before
you're
all
lucky
of
to have
that.
a Discman.
Yeah,
that
I
you
remember
can
I was like
use, or a
19 or
Walkman.
20. I'd moved to Sydney and the iPhone had just come out. I think it would have been like 2005
no
or something.
idea.
I don't even know. But
I
anyway,
did not have the
I
latest
remember
of
like I
anything.
met some people and they were very like, you know, technical,
tech savvy.
tech savvy. There we go. And they were like, what do you do on the bus? Like, you don't have an iPhone because I just had like a little Nokia, whatever. Like, what do you do? And I'm just like,
Place name.
chill.
Definitely place name.
No, but like he just looked at me like I was like a crazy person because I wasn't listening to music or this or whatever. And I guess, yeah, maybe I've always been a little bit like
I
that.
think on the bus, I always like listen to music, but I don't necessarily scroll or look at a lot. Like I will just sit there listening to music and just zone out and look out the window. I don't tend to scroll that much, but also that's partly because of concern over people being able to see my phone.
True.
I think that's where it initially came from, but now I'm just can't be bothered.
I just remember
Like,
walking
I
onto
enjoy
the bus,
zoning out.
like when I used to catch the bus to uni, and every single person on the bus without fail, like 50 people, all just had their head in
Well,
their phones, and it's like not
yeah.
a
It's
good.
gross, yeah.
But
Not a good look.
That's
Puts
not a
you
new
off.
thing. There's a
No.
photo of like back in the 40s or 50s or whatever, and they jump
Mm.
on the train, and everyone's got their head down in the newspaper.
Newspaper.
Yeah, I
It's always
guess.
something, yeah.
I guess, and that's not a bad thing, but I just
It's just like people don't, I guess, early in the morning on the way to work, don't want to spark converse with some random person kind
for
of
sure,
thing.
and nor should they.
You
But
go into a job that you most likely probably hate,
yeah,
fighting with the family, been up all night.
goodness.
Babies
Sounds
kept
bleak.
you
Wait
up,
for-
like
yeah,
the wife's
newspaper's gonna
annoying.
tell me other people are
Like-
suffering. Yes, this is what I want.
Sounds
And
pretty
now,
rough.
now it's the other way around. People are like, now I'm going to scroll. Oh, everyone's having a fantastic time, but me.
Everyone's got their
what's going on
beach
with my
bud.
life? Like,
Everyone must be just
Yeah.
on the butt. Oh my god, not the beach butt.
I said beach bud.
Oh right, I
Oh.
think you said
What's
butt.
beach
Because
butt?
that's an issue too.
Oh.
they're not mutually exclusive. They're part of the
No.
same package.
It's pretty much the same.
Okay, cool. So I guess kind of chiming off that beach bod.
Oh.
No, working out. Working out is a huge thing. Getting the body active, getting pheromones and whatnot sparking and firing.
I've always been like, I don't want to go to the gym for sure, but I've
Same.
always been like a nature kind of person. So I like going for bushwalks, and I feel like that helps a lot to clear the mind. But once again, if you're listening to something the whole time, it takes away from that experience of actually just being in the moment, walking through nature. So I find that if you can do it is even better. It adds that extra element to it, not taking your mind off being there. The fresh air and nature. I feel like that's super helpful.
There's
for sure.
definite substance too. There was a study, and it compared two people, one who ran through the city and one who ran through the bush. And the one who runs through the city is kind of stressed out at the end of it. The one who runs through the bush has like a lowered heart rate. They're just more chilled out kind of thing. So there's definite substance in being out in nature.
In nature.
If you're lucky enough to live somewhere where you have like a little bush
It's accessible.
walk, it's amazingly helpful for sure.
You guys went for a bushwalk the other day. Did you feel good after it? And then a swim? Just quite naturey.
Well, that was
No, that wasn't a bushwalk.
not but we do go for bushwalks
Okay.
occasionally. But
But yeah, we do feel good after we do it, don't we?
yeah,
Do we?
The other day it was really hot.
No,
But
that
apart
wasn't a
from
bushwalk though. That was like a walk along the river. It was 40
we felt
degrees.
sick the other day, but no, after a bushwalk before we would feel really good. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So how about this? There's this guy, Jordan Peterson, and there's all the literature out there, basically. And he's like a lecturer at uni. He's very controversial, but anyway,
He's like a clinical psychologist, isn't he?
yeah, amongst many things. But he reckons he gets his students to do autobiographies, and they can be regularly up to 50,000 words. Because once you start unraveling this ticking time bomb, basically. And he says, when talking about like people holding on to trauma that might be causing depression, anxiety, or mental health issues, he reckons the reason we remember the past is to be prepared for the future. So we remember when we blindly walked into situations, something horrible has happened. And he reckons you need to take that apart, figure out how your participation, whether it was voluntarily or involuntarily, and you need to figure out how that happened and how you could act differently if that situation was to occur again. And as soon as you do that, your brain will leave it alone. It won't obsess you about it anymore because the anxiety producing parts of your brain are basically trying to tell you where there are obstacles in your environment. A negative emotion that is associated with a memory is crying out to be mastered. And when you autobiographically write about your life, you're reorganizing your brain, and you're basically freeing your trapped soul of past stuff that has happened that you can't let go of because you haven't figured it out yet. Do you think sounds like it's a feasible thing, autobiography?
I think
writing?
a lot of people tell you to do journaling, like write stuff down, and for sure that's helpful. I think I've done that like quite a bit in my life, and then you can have that time to reflect and look back at it at a later time when you're not feeling those like hypervigilance kind of thing. But I haven't actually done a lot of that recently, in more
No.
recent times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I tried it for a while as well, like everyday journaling stuff, just to try and, as a way, like get the thoughts and the experience like out onto
instead of it
paper,
swirling
so that
around
you
in
could,
your brain.
yeah,
so you
like
can compartmentalize it
it's like
instead of it just,
debriefing sort of thing to get it out. And then I know that like fairly recently, I looked back over some of the stuff that I'd written earlier in the year and was like, whoa, like
Yeah,
I'm
right.
in such a different space right now than where I was. And there was even earlier from that, actually writing that I wanted to be in a completely different space in 12
So
months'
you
time.
manifested that.
And I did it.
That's pretty
Amazing.
insane.
And I was like, whoa.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And like, even, like, the beginning of the year, I had a lot of issues with something. And then, coming to now, like even writing, I think I even wrote like a month ago maybe, and just wrote like how different my like current experience and like emotional state and everything is now to what it was at the beginning of the year or even halfway through last year. Like it's just miles apart, like totally.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's like, crazy. Like
so great.
to think sometimes I'm like, whoa, can't believe you were in that state.
And
Like
I've
at the
witnessed it
beginning
as
of the
well.
year.
Like,
Yeah.
I've witnessed you just
You've been
blossom
there.
for the last
You've been
12
there.
months. Like,
Like,
yeah.
I guess it's easy to also recognize that, because you might not have recognized that if you hadn't written that down and you couldn't go back over it.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
read
yeah.
it up.
I would never have even remembered that I thought 12 months' time, I want my life to be completely different. Like I wanted to end my long-term relationship. I wanted to be, living alone. I wanted to do all sorts of things, and they all
happened.
happened. I wanted a job, all of it. Like all of it had happened
Yeah.
within the time since I first wrote that down. And it was just like, whoa.
So 2020 has been
2020's
quite the
been massive.
embarkment.
Massive year this year.
I think for everyone, but
Sure.
kind of for the better rather than for the worse, right?
Yeah. It's been such a different year, and I think a lot of people think that it's been negative with the pandemic and everything, but I actually think like my life has improved significantly.
Oh, for sure.
This
Me
year.
too,
Like
actually.
I don't think, and I've gone through so much change this year. Like starting the year with very bad romantic situation, and then jaw surgery, and then uni and COVID, graduating uni, like just so much change throughout the year that it, and a breakup, like having my ex
And the
move
drama
out,
that
like
you
just
went through
everything,
with
like
the new romantic partner, then you became friends with them, and
and like just a complete shift in that relationship. It's been I don't think I've
if you
ever had
sat here
such a
12
massive
months
year.
ago
I
and
would
told
not.
yourself like this
No.
is the situation you would be in,
No.
you'd just be
You
like,
would not believe it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's been a massive year of transformation on so many different aspects.
Okay. And same for you, Laura, I guess, you're stressing out in uni. You're
For
getting all
sure.
6s and 7s at the end of the day.
yeah, that was that was insane. But coming back to the journaling, I guess one thing that kind of resonated me, just that I thought of then, was when I did my dad's ashes this year after like 10 years of not doing it for whatever reason. But anyway, I wanted to write a letter and then burn it in the fire. And the first letter that I wrote was just full of anger and resentment and
That's right. I remember.
hectic, like fire. And I read it back and I was like, maybe like a day or two later, and I was like, wow, that's not really what I want to say. That's just a feeling that I had. So yeah,
Those
with
who
that
hurt,
whole...
hurt.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like just being able to get that out of my head gave me a chance to write what I really wanted to write, like, or what I really wanted to say. Because when you have all this stuff swirling around your head, 10 years built up or a lifetime built up of, a bunch of different emotions, having, the space to write down what you want and then read it and then, okay, I've gotten that out now. That's not what I really want to say. And then I feel like at the end of it,
Message in a bottle, so to speak.
it took me like 3 or 4 times, I think. And then I got to a place where I was like, yeah, okay, that's actually how I feel now. Like, yeah, so maybe it's something to think about, to maybe add to the list of things to do.
Start journal work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, journal work's a huge part of my life. it is very much academic at the moment. It's not about, I guess it's a little bit about feelings and whatnot, but it definitely helps getting thoughts down on paper.
Reflective
And then that
practice,
makes you get
yeah.
a better idea of what's just happened, kind of thing, for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. Yeah, there's something in that for sure.
I've got one here. I just know I like to participate in this. I think I know you like to participate in, Laura. I'm not sure if you are willing to do it, Miz. Cold showers. Wim Hof.
So good.
Wim Hof the Iceman. And anyway, it's been scientifically proven that if you have cold showers every day, your heart rate can go down by 20, 30 beats a minute. And it lasts 24 hours for a day, which will help diminish stress. It wakes up your vascular system, so your heart doesn't need to pump so much. Blood flow runs much better through your system, resulting in nutrients, minerals, and oxygen getting to the cells better, producing more energy.
I've made this part of my daily ritual for the last couple of months, like now that it's started to get a bit warmer. I have done it for a long time
Well,
as
they're
well.
barely cold showers at the moment with Australian heat.
It still
Yeah.
is though, like it's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
first thing in the morning when you're tired. It definitely wakes you up. But I've also incorporated 1 minute of rubbing ice on my face just to go that little bit deeper. But it's also meant to be a really good beauty hack as well.
Makes you feel beautified.
Yeah, it like tightens your pores, like reduces wrinkling apparently. I don't
Which
know.
all
Google
helps.
it.
Feeling good at the end of the day too.
So good.
Yeah.
It actually makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this recently. Actually, since our conversation about the cold shower thing and the ice on the face, I have been, perhaps not an entire cold shower, working my way up to that.
That's
I
what-
do turn it down
That's
to
what Wim
cold.
even says to do. He's
Yeah,
like, if you want to
partway
start
through.
hot, and
Yeah.
then by the end of it, do
But
it.
I don't have like super boiling hot showers. I've never had like really, really hot showers. But yeah, I certainly have been doing that now, is like ending the shower on cold water
It
and
just
the ice
puts a
on
bit
the
of
face
a
thing, yeah.
pep in your
Yeah.
It's great.
Step.
It is great.
And it
It's
is
good.
much easier now because it's disgustingly hot.
It's-
I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know how
Yeah.
I'd go in winter.
I don't know how people
With a
do
cold
hot
shower?
You get out of a
Yeah.
hot shower and you start sweating straight away. It's insane. Whereas at least a cool shower, and then if you walk into the aircon, you're at least cool for a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so cold showers, give it a try. Anyway, through other research I did, I found out that one of the leading causes of depression is the lack of sense of feeling any kind of control in your working situation whatsoever. Do you feel you guys have a sense of control in your line of work or in your line of study? And would you say your depression or anxiety is focused around your work at all?
When you say like a sense of control,
Well, I remember when I was plumbing, we were
Yeah.
doing 60-hour weeks. You know, even if I was like, yeah, I've got this volleyball game I've got to get to, it's like, well, if you keep doing this every week, chances are you're not going to have a job here, kind of thing. So even something like, hey, I only want to do an 8-hour day today rather than a 12-hour day today, and a 12-hour day tomorrow, and a 12-hour day after that, and then 6 hours on my Saturday, so I've only got 1.5 days. It's like, can we have some leniency in what... I lost the sense that I had any control in my working situation whatsoever, which hence made me despise going to construction sites. After 16 years, I was just like, I don't even want to do this anymore. So I
Yeah.
guess it's just small things like that, like not having... But I was working for a particular company where this was the first I'd ever experienced that too. But it was kind of like the nail in the coffin.
yeah. I think previously when I was working in corporate, definitely had that. Just felt like I was just micromanaged, had no control over anything, had to do as I was told all the time. I think now it's a very different culture where I work, and we're all treated as equals regardless of our level, and we're not micromanaged, and they, you know, believe that we know what we're doing. I think that comes also with the study and getting the degree as well. Is kind of just that, yeah, they know that we know, like they have confidence in us that we know what we're doing. So in that sort of thing, I think also like at BDVS where I work, the, you know, like the hours sort of thing, like I can shift my hours around, and I can say that it's too much. They respect that and they'll drop it back, or, you know, I can be available for more. So they are pretty, I do feel now that I have a fair bit of control where I'm working for the first time ever, as opposed to any of the
So
other
then,
places
yeah.
that I've
And
worked.
funnily enough,
That makes
you're
sense.
not feeling
Yeah.
as many mental health issues. So maybe
yeah.
it does have
Yeah,
a
definitely.
correlation.
Definitely, yeah.
For sure. Well, the studies are out there. The things are, and I guess maybe you, Laura, to relate that back to your college. Sometimes you saw no end to the amount of study, impending doom.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's hard for me to relate that to a job, having no control kind of thing, because I don't really have a choice. I'm like the sole carer of my child, so I can't just allocate a certain number of days a week or whatever to go and get whatever job, because it's just not feasible within my capacity with what's happening right now. But even with saying that, like, that does make me feel anxious and depressed, because I can't just go and do what I want. I don't have control over that. I don't have somebody being like, it's all good, I'll do that so you can go and do that for yourself, which means, you know, more money coming in, you know. So yeah, it would probably contribute to that for sure. Yeah.
I think that's all parents feel when they've got a young one between the ages.
Well,
of,
normally
like,
there's, you know, ideally there's two people there so they can kind of help each other out, but it's not really the case. So.
But until they're like teenagers, you kind of got to keep this watchful eye over them at all times.
Oh,
kind of thing.
100%.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go out and figure stuff out on their own.
Yeah. Only another 10 years.
And they're on their own.
Peace out, Mom.
Good luck.
Do you guys think there's a stigma around mental health? And should we jump straight to medication, or should we figure out what it is that's making people depressed and try to tackle these one by one?
I feel like the stigma is definitely lessening. Like, for
Yeah, I
sure.
agree.
There's a lot more awareness around mental health these days. A lot more stuff on, you know, popular media like Netflix and all this kind of stuff for young kids to kind of have access to be exposed to these kind of
I
issues.
think certain types of mental illness still have a lot of stigma, though.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I think anxiety, depression, they're becoming much more mainstream and accepted.
But
I
stuff like
think things like schizophrenia
yeah.
and
Well,
bipolar and that, there's
yeah.
still quite a lot of stigma around that sort of
To
Definitely.
stuff.
chime in on the anxiety and depression, do you feel like in this day and age, maybe we're too quick to jump to an anecdote for people just feeling shit about stuff maybe they should feel shit about? Like, you've just been divorced, you've just
Yeah.
lost your job, or something. Like, it's allowed to have this roller coaster of emotions.
It's a
without going,
double-edged sword.
"Now
Like,
I'm on my way."
you shouldn't have stigma against wanting to have medication. Like, if you have asthma or you have, you know, a broken leg, you go and get some sort of medication to help your ailment. You know what I mean? So I think that you shouldn't be like, it's all on me. Like, if it gets to the point where it's that bad and it's not manageable, then seek
For sure.
medication
For
for
sure,
sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
But,
And even if you just have to do it for a little bit, and then once things start settling down, then you try and wean off it. Like, it's just it really depends what setting it is. I think it's not one size fits all.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that it should be like first option, that's it. I think, you know, I mean, depending, you know, if
Exactly.
you're
If you've
looking
been
at
struggling for 6
schizophrenia or
months,
something, like
it
stuff
just
like
depends
that.
what you're talking
some
about.
people have
Yeah.
chemical
Science.
imbalance. I'm not
Yeah.
denying that at all.
But I think, yeah, anxiety and depression, I think there are other
If you're not
things,
doing
like,
anything to
you
help
know?
yourself, if you're not eating right, if you're not exercising, if you're not, you know, if you just let yourself lay in bed all day and like be a wreck.
No motivation, no drive to get up.
And if you can't get out of bed, then that's probably, yeah, you probably do
Oh,
need to
yeah.
be on medication. But if you're
just to level you
if you're
out.
not doing anything to actually help yourself, or if you can't, if you're not able to, then it probably, yeah.
I think the problem is just doing medication. Like, perhaps medication is necessary to bring you to that functioning level. But then whilst you're at that functioning level, you need to incorporate other therapies like counselling, you
And
know,
be vigilant with
CBT and all of
exercise
that.
and all that kind of stuff as
And
well.
start to improve other areas so that then you can come off the medication, but you've also already got all these other processes and coping mechanisms in place that don't, so you're not just relying on the medication. Like, and I think that's something that the psychs have always said is
The medication isn't going to fix everything.
no,
You're still
and you
gonna
can't
feel
be on
like
it
shit.
forever.
Yeah.
It's not good for you.
Well, you can, but
But
it's
some
not.
people, I've watched some good friends that were never on medication. I don't think they're as depressed as they say they are. They've just gone through a bad breakup kind of thing. That girlfriend actually told this guy to get on medication, and now he's hooked, getting heavier doses every time he goes back. And I'm just like, man, you're telling yourself this is the issue, but I don't think this is really the issue.
No.
You're at home working too because he's got a crook back kind of thing, so he's not getting out. He can't exercise as much. he's not a good cook, so he's not eating very good food, kind of thing.
It's probably, socializing that much.
Yeah, I just think
and-
like sometimes people should
It's
be
a
told, no,
spiral,
you're not
yeah.
allowed to go deeper down this tablet road. We're going to actually start weaning you back off it, kind of thing. Cause,
But
Yeah.
no doctor's going to tell you that. Like,
so
it's the pharmaceutical
is that not
companies.
a problem right there then too?
Well, you don't go to a GP for them to give you a holistic opinion. Like, you go to a GP to get...
Medical advice.
Yeah.
And if this medical advice
And the
isn't-
Western world is very different to the Eastern world. You're not going to, you're not going to go to a GP and they're going to tell you to, do yoga and maybe, like, have a more alkalized diet or, give
no,
you...
I'm not saying that, I guess. Because there's also an addiction thing, which comes to these tablets, like a dependency that comes to these.
I think,
right?
the propranolol, definitely, I had a dependency on that. And for a long time, until only recently, where...
But that was more of a mental thing. It wasn't even
It's
that
a
it's an
mental
addictive
thing.
substance.
But that's
it's
the
just
thing,
because
it's
you
a
thought
mental
that you
thing.
needed it. Yeah.
I
But people
thought
can
that
be-
without that, I couldn't cope. And that that
That
all
was-
of the issues
yeah.
would happen. And it's only been recently, like my final uni placement, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to stock up on that. I'm not going to be able to get through it, doing all these new things with all these new random people or whatever. Barely took it the whole time. And now I don't.
And
I
it
mean,
all-
every
that
now
all
and
had
then
to do
I'll
with
have
your-
something that will trigger me, but it's not even that I need that. It's more of a mental thing,
It's
like
a safety
that might,
net.
like,
And it
oh,
looks
that
like it all
might
came
help.
back to your social environment. Like,
And I've been, super
needing it.
social
Yeah,
lately as
that's
well.
why,
like,
yeah.
just constantly, I'm barely ever at home now. I'm like constantly with all different people.
So
and
that
I think,
comes back to the first thing.
yeah.
Feel like you belong.
yeah,
You got to feel your life has meaning and purpose. You got to feel people see you and value you,
yeah.
which is kind of where you guys are at the moment. Whereas like 12 months ago, you might not have felt
Definitely not.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
that. I think there's huge value in that, huge weight in that little opinion.
Definitely.
Do you think pain is a motivator? Like it motivates you to change, move, sort something out that is giving you grief? Or is it more likely to send you even deeper down a dark hole?
Depends what the pain is, I guess. Depends how significant it is.
Yeah, I guess that's a pretty open question, isn't it, really?
If you've just
If it's
experienced some
just
significant loss.
if it's just you thinking, what's the point? Not finding like a reason to get out of bed because something's happened to you. That's happened to all. We've all gone through breakups, right?
Yeah.
You're allowed to feel sad after a breakup. People have lost their husband for 30 years, and they still manage to keep fighting the good fight. So maybe people need to direct their...
I think there's an accumulation of, grief and loss and pain and all this kind of stuff too. And sometimes you can just keep piling stuff into a slow cooker and it gets to a point where it's going to explode and you can't actually deal with anything anymore. And you have to, either do something about it or accept that is who you are
Because
now.
I think it's kind of like where I work in the domestic violence thing, we have like, people who keep going back to violent partners. They keep choosing violent partners over and over again.
It's a
And they
pattern.
call it, like, there's this thing called the shark tank. And it's like, as they've been growing up or whatnot, they haven't had the resources and the support around them to develop the skills to keep the sharks out. And so now they just keep letting them in,
inviting the
and
sharks in,
they
yeah.
don't see the triggers, they don't see the warnings, they don't have the protective factors. And
Well-
I think it's sort of similar, like if you haven't had a supportive upbringing and you haven't had all of these different factors, like, yeah, some people can excel still, they, somehow get around that, but there's a lot of people who haven't had the resources to build the resilience to manage that sort of stuff. And I think that can impact on it.
That's
as
100%
well.
right.
Yeah.
That's 100% right. And that actually brings me to this next thing. The story of green chickens. And I'm not sure if we've spoken about this before or not.
I think I've tried to tell Mills
She's
about it,
called
but
me a green chicken, and I
think-
had no idea what that meant.
I think I've butchered the story.
So, it was a TED talk I watched the other day, and this guy took chickens from a farm, and he realized some of them were pecking at each other, and others of them were just not disturbing anyone, getting on about their day. So I decided to divide it up into two. The red chickens were the ones that try to peck at each other, because they're in battle mentally with each other. The green chickens are the one that just get on their day. So there was a coop of green chickens and a coop of red chickens. At the end of the day, in 1 year, there was less than half of the red chickens left because they all pecked each other to death. At the end of 1 year, the green chickens, they increased their egg production by 260%. And this study was then directly relatable into the classroom, where they had kids that were getting left behind because they were kind of like trying to bother other kids kind of thing, and other kids that kept excelling.
Yeah.
And it's just the research was directly relatable to humans surrounding, and it's all about collaboration and surrounding yourself amongst people that aren't in battle with you, and everyone kind of comes up together on the same
one
platform.
another up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that whenever I've like worked with someone, and I'm not trying to like do better than them, I'm trying to like come up at the same level and bring them into my secrets, and hopefully they tell me their secrets kind of thing. And talking about like knowledge in the audio world, and it always works out for you. You always present something better when you're not competing. You're together.
I find like, in my work now, like I'm not intimidated by people who are very knowledgeable and very skilled. I want to like learn from them and like
Of course.
just be around them and try and like soak up as much as I can from them. Whereas I think previously, or even like people who are super confident and super like outgoing or whatever, I think I used to be really intimidated by them, but now I'm really drawn to those people because I guess I've recognized, that you can just gain so much from that. And it's so much more of a positive environment than being around, people who are not like that, who are, picking on other people because they think they're better and this and that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
for
it's,
sure.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think if you actually start to implement that into your day-to-day life, like-minded people who want the best for you, they end up coming and surrounding themselves around you too.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
thing. And the ones who don't, they can have fun battling the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think people who are negative about people who are good at what they do, or negative about just picky, I don't know. I don't like bitchiness or, that sort of stuff and drama and whatever. I never have really. But just when you get around somebody who's picking on another person for anything really, I sort of just...
Well, that's
It's not a nice environment.
No, it's like...
You just get that energy. It's just like, oh, it's not nice.
Yeah, and I mean, we all at times,
of course, that's what group
make a
message
remark or
chats
whatever,
are
but
basically about.
but like people who are, I mean, you always know those people who are like overly negative, like they're just,
for sure.
there's
I've been there.
always something wrong. There's always something that's an issue for them, and I just try and distance myself from those people, like...
Yeah, and I guess like once you continue down a pattern of thinking a certain way, you make a neurological connection in your brain, and the bridge is like a stepping stone, and the bridge, which is like being positive, gets further and further, so it's harder to make that jump. And all you have to do is make it once, and then the other way will get shorter and shorter, and then you can start to be, and the other one will get longer and longer, and you can start thinking positively rather than negatively.
Yeah, definitely. It like becomes a habit.
Yeah, but that also must be many factors in play in that situation.
Not
obviously.
Nothing simple.
Cool. So I guess we'll end it on this kind of note. Don't judge yourself on someone else today. Judge yourself today on who you were yesterday. Do you think that's a good one?
Say it again.
Don't judge yourself on someone else today. Judge yourself today on who you were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The point is to always try and better yourself. You're never there. You can always go a bit better.
And it doesn't really matter what anyone else is doing.
100%. Yeah.
Go your own way.
What's David Goggins say? Fuck what people say. What the fuck what everyone thinks about you. And he's like a SAS guy kind of thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think...
There's no point looking out. I think the answers are all within yourself. It doesn't... Yeah, another point that I was thinking about when we were talking about doing this was like a lot of emphasis is placed on like aesthetics these days and like what's happening on the outside and what you've got and how much have you got of it and whether this is bigger or smaller or, you know, whatever. But like all of that fades and you can lose it in an instant. Like it's all about actually what's, inside you, what's happening inside. And
like I'd much rather be around somebody where I can have an intelligent conversation and a really deep conversation than somebody who looks really pretty. Like,
what happens if you get a brick to the face? Like that's all gone. What's happening then? Like, are you a good person? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, someone who's a good person and he's really intelligent and whatnot. But I don't know where I was going with that.
But it just reminded me of that. Like, judge yourself. Not on what someone else is. It's like don't worry about what other people are doing. Like focus on what's happening.
Stay true
your
to
inner
yourself,
world. Yeah.
and it kind of will all prevail.
And as soon as you start doing that, like you slowly learn little things don't matter. Like it doesn't matter if that person doesn't like you. Not everyone's gonna like you.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter if that person has more than you. Like you win some, you lose some. Everyone comes up and down. Like that's life. But
Well, and that person won't even come into your train of thought at the end of the day if you don't care what they think about really.
But it doesn't.
Exactly.
It ultimately does not matter anyway. Like
I think just surrounding yourself too with people who like I guess that goes back to the first point, like people who are supportive of you and people who are positive and uplifting and whatnot. That really it's just so it's so important to
for sure
moving forward, I guess.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for chatting today. It's been very deep, emotional. I've loved it. Any last words for the world?
The world.
Yeah. This will go up somewhere. Who knows who's gonna?
Everyone be a
listen
green
to it.
chicken.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Peace, love, respect, and green chickens.
Yeah. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.